Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. I dragged a chair to their table and sat, no invitation. I'm Lena, 29. His fork hovered like a stopped clock, her napkin clenched hard. The server stalled 2 steps away, then retreated fast. My pulse set a countdown. I refused to obey. 2 minutes, I placed my phone between their plates. He stiffened, shoulders squared, eyes cold and careful. Her smile tried to hold and then collapsed. I breathed once through the shake in my hands. This would bruise me later if I blinked now. He reached toward the phone, fingers cautious, then pulled back. Don't touch it yet, I kept my gaze on him. She glanced at the entrance like an exit burned there. Chairs scraped nearby and turned into an audience. I felt the room lean in for blood. Why here? His jaw moved, words barely leaving. Because you dodge in texts and brag in crowds. My voice stayed flat, my chest too tight. She swallowed, eyes scanning our faces like evidence. The server hovered again with water he didn't pour. I tapped the screen once and locked it again. He flinched, guilty tells never stay quiet. Her fingers smoothed that napkin into a small fist. 2 minutes, I repeated, not asking permission. He hated the clock when it wasn't his. The manager drifted over with professional calm. We're fine, I told him and didn't blink. He paused, read the temperature, then stepped back. Silence lasted one heavy beat too long. My courage cracked and then said harder. Are you done with me? I asked, eyes steady. He looked at her first, weak move, instant stain. Her mouth pressed into a thin, determined line. He exhaled like the truth burned on the way out. I braced for something slippery dressed as mercy. Not the place, his voice cut short and sharp. This is exactly the place, I answered without heat. Her palm lifted off the table like touching fire. Around us, forks slowed and screens tilted. Shame crawled my neck, but I didn't move. He reached again, slower, stopped at the phone's edge. Careful, I angled it so the timestamp glared. Her eyes flicked there and widened a fraction. He knew what lived under that black glass. I let the threat breathe but not speak. 2 minutes is now one, I said, heartbeat hammering. Then I'll leave and you can finish dinner. Her throat worked like she swallowed a stone. He rubbed his temple, calculation flickering behind calm. I waited for the story he planned to sell. Did you tell her about me this month? The question landed like a dropped plate, clean break. Her gaze snapped to him and stayed fixed. He blinked twice, the only answer I needed. Something tight inside me loosened, then ached. She finally spoke, voice low and controlled. What is this? Her fingers released the napkin. A correction, I said, and it sounded colder than intended. He flared at the word like I'd used a knife. Truth can cut softer than lies, just deeper. The server arrived with a pitcher and froze. Water, he offered, hands steady by practice. No, I didn't look away from my ex. Her chair creaked under a decision forming. I felt the next minute crouch like a trap. He leaned closer, breath even, expression practice steel. If you're here to humiliate me, it's working. Not my aim, clarity is, I kept tone level. Her shoulders lifted and held, a silent brace. We all knew something bigger waited under the table. My phone buzzed once on the wood, ignored. His eyes tracked it like it might explode. She shifted her purse to her lap with intention. Bar noise rose, then dipped like a tide. The countdown hit 0 and I let it ring. I unlocked the screen and flipped the gallery, one swipe, then pause. His hand hovered, then withdrew like the edge burned. She leaned closer without breathing, waiting for the first blow. A weekend date stared up, bold and unforgiving. No one at nearby tables pretended not to listen. Recognize that hotel? I tapped twice for clarity. He blinked hard and smoothed his tie with nerves. Her eyes searched for an out that wasn't there. Before we continue, choose honesty or theater. He pressed his lips together, which answered enough. The hostess drifted near with a careful smile. Give us a minute, I told her without looking. Her shoes whispered away like a warning bell. He adjusted cutlery to avoid my stare. Explain, August, I said and watched his throat. It overlapped, he kept his voice steady and quiet. She shifted in her seat and clasped both hands. I felt a small wind that didn't feel good. Timeline, I insisted, tapping the date again. His gaze fell to the linen like confession lived there. Messages first, I opened the thread and scrolled slow. Weeknight plans, airport pickups, 2 selfies and 1 promise. He closed his eyes as if shutting a door. She read faster than me and stiffened at Tuesday. Her foot drew back under the table like recoil. You asked to meet my boss that Thursday. He nodded once without lifting his head. Oh, we? Ray, you exclusive by then with her. Silence spread, then tightened like a belt. She turned slightly toward him, waiting for dignity. No, he rubbed his temple and stared past me. Then why introduce me to your coworkers Friday? My pulse didn't budge, though something inside wanted out. He reached for water, then changed his mind. I let the screen glow between us like a flare. She broke the standoff first with a single question. Did you warn either of us at any point? He worked his jaw as if words weighed pounds. I thought I had time to decide. Her laugh was soft and sharp like a snapped thread. I opened my payment app and pulled up a fare. If I leave now, will you tell her everything? His head lifted, quick calculation in his eyes. Or do we do it together right here? The room waited with me, eager for chaos. Not here, he straightened and finally met my stare. Then choose now and accept the fallout. She didn't touch him or me, just squared up. Third option, she said, voice level and pointed. We both walk out and you sit with consequences. I slid the phone back and let the proof fade. He reached again and stopped, afraid of the light. Tables around us resumed chewing like a cue. I took a slow breath that tasted like resolve. I would not chase another apology to the door. Which is it? I kept my tone neutral and slow. His shoulders dropped a fraction as the fight left. She watched the moment he realized he was done. I will talk outside, he finally managed. I stood first to keep control of the ground. The waiter reappeared with the bill tucked discreetly. Put it all on him, I told him flat. A couple nearby clapped once before thinking better. He flushed and nodded, then wrote without comment. Embarrassment finally did what my evidence couldn't. We stepped toward the exit and air hit like judgment. Traffic noise stitched itself into the pause between us. She faced me, steady and unflinching despite the shake. Thank you for not lying to protect pride. I nodded because anything else would cheapen this. He joined us with a brittle kind of composure. I was wrong came out as barely more than air. Start with dates when you speak to her later. I pocketed the phone and let silence weigh him. He understood that we weren't giving him a stage. A rideshare icon blinked ready and waiting for me. I ordered it without asking either for permission. Next time you want clarity, text me first, she said. I will, I answered because I had learned pain. My car turned onto the street as his options closed. I killed the ride at the next light and jumped out. A bank alert flashed on my screen and burned hot. New reservation under my account while we were arguing. He was still pulling stunts while playing victim outside. I started walking back with my jaw locked tight. His name lit up twice and I let it ring. A new number popped with a short direct text. Send me the screenshots and meet me nearby. She added an address 3 blocks up without apology. I changed direction and kept my thumb steady. I reached the corner and waited with my pulse loud. She arrived fast with hair tied back like armor. No theatrics, she said and held out her hand. I airdropped the files and watched her shoulders settle. Anything else I should expect tonight, she asked. Fraud on my card, I answered, showing the alert. Her eyes narrowed and then sharpened with purpose. Did he save your details without asking? Yes, I said and kept my breathing even. We both turned when footsteps rushed our spot. He barreled up with a practiced calm and empty eyes. Both of you are overreacting, he tried with a shrug. I raised the phone and kept the bank text visible. Her arm crossed her chest and blocked his angle. Fix it now or I call the number, I warned. He reached for charm and found nothing that worked. It's a mix-up, he offered while scratching his jaw. Cancel the booking, she said, voice flat and final. He hesitated and glanced toward an alley like escape. I stepped closer and tapped the cancel button myself. The confirmation chimed and his mouth barely held shape. Refund takes a few days, he muttered to the sidewalk. Then send it to me tonight, I returned without flinch. He opened his wallet and stalled like a dying engine. She flicked her gaze at me and nodded once. Also return my spare, she added with precision and steel. He blinked and bought time with a shallow laugh. You forgot to give it back last month, she continued. His hand hovered at his pocket and stopped cold. I knew what that pause meant and folded my arms. He produced a thin key from a coin slot begrudgingly. She took it using 2 fingers like it stung. Anything else you kept from either of us? I asked. He started to protest, then saw both of our faces. Photo of your card, he whispered with a twitch. I felt heat rise but kept my voice low. Delete it while I watch. And clear the cache. He fumbled through menus and cursed it under his breath. The screen went blank and came back with nothing stored. I made him open the cloud and check twice. She stayed beside me like a quiet metronome for truth. He finally lifted the phone and showed clean folders. I took a picture of the empty list for record. He swallowed hard and touched his neck like it hurt. The street noise filled the gap we refused to fill. You will wire the refund by 10, I stated. I will confirm with her before midnight, she added. He nodded like a student caught with stolen notes. If not, I file for theft tomorrow morning, I said. His shoulders sagged and the act slid off. He tried one last pivot toward nostalgia I didn't buy. You owe me peace, he started and reached out. I stepped back and let the distance say no. She stared him down until his hand dropped harmlessly. He finally understood the room had moved without him. Lose my number after the transfer, I told him calmly. She lifted her chin and turned to walk with me. Behind us, his footsteps faded into scattered traffic. I exhaled slow and felt something heavier leave. The real fallout hadn't started yet, and I knew it. 10:01, no transfer. My banking app blinked pending and smug. I hit call and reported misuse with clipped answers. The buzzer exploded through my hallway like a dare. I muted the agent and watched the door. Open up, his voice bled through the metal. I started recording and slid the chain across. Money first, then silence, I kept my tone even. He swore under his breath and tried the handle. My phone vibrated again, her name, short message. On my way, keep him outside. I angled the camera to catch his restless feet. He knocked again, faster now, patience gone. Stop playing cop, he leaned into the peephole. Use instant transfer, I said, holding the lens steady. No delays, no excuses, no speeches. He pulled back and typed with jerky motions. A ping landed, half of what he owed. I lifted the screen to the viewer and waited. Full amount, I said in a quiet stretch. He kicked the baseboard once, then checked his watch. Footsteps hurried up the stairwell, hers brisk and sure. She reached my floor and didn't look at him. Finish it, she told him, eyes like a closed door. He smirked and tried charm that died on contact. I need time, he spread his hands like a plea. Then I need police, I answered, thumb over dial. Her gaze dropped to his wrist and back up. Transfer or we file tonight, she warned. He set his jaw and opened his banking app. Another ping, the remainder hit my balance. Fees on you, I added, no mercy left. He flinched but nodded because we were done pretending. Now the card photo, I raised my palm for the phone. He hesitated, then handed it over like a bad bet. I opened storage, trash, backups empty across the board. Email, I said, and typed my address while he watched. I sent myself a signed note acknowledging misuse. He tried to read my face and found nothing helpful. She captured his screen on her device for proof. We built a small wall of receipts between us. Return the login you made in my name. He froze, eyes flicking right, busted by the pause. I stepped closer until evasion got crowded. Credentials, I repeated and held out my hand. He whispered the username and scribbled the reset steps. I repeated them back slowly, forcing accuracy. She recorded the sequence and timestamped the page. He stared at the floor like it might forgive him. Anything else I should lock down? My voice dropped. He swallowed and mentioned a travel wallet stored on autofill. I opened my settings and purged the saved methods. He watched the progress bar like a countdown to exile. Consider this notice, she told him with frozen calm. You contact either of us, we escalate it. He backed away, pride cracking at the edges. Message received, he muttered, already halfway down the stairs. I shut the door but didn't release the chain. My hands shook only after the bolt slid home. Her phone chimed with a new alert from his account. We looked at each other, ready for the next hit. My inbox flashed a fresh reset request while her alert kept buzzing. Unauthorized access on a travel wallet I thought I'd scrubbed. I opened security and slammed a freeze across every profile. She mirrored me on her screen with quick, precise taps. Another reset email landed before the first one closed. Forwarding rules, she guessed, already hunting the settings menu. We found a filter shunting statements to a shadow address. I captured the screen and wiped the rule clean. She added an automatic alert to both our phones. A silence settled that felt like a held breath. His group text arrived with a neat apology paragraph. I read the spin and felt anger sharpen again. Reply with terms nothing warm, she murmured, chin steady. I typed a short list and insisted on written admission. He responded with excuses and a weak offer to talk. Paper first, I sent, thumbs deliberate and slow. Then no contact for a year starting tonight. 3 dots hovered and vanished like cowardice with a tail. He finally agreed to write and asked for discretion. I left the dots hanging and didn't soothe him. We walked to the precinct because the clock mattered. The clerk took our copies and stamped each page. An incident number slid across the counter like armor. I tucked it beside the bank case code and exhaled. I heard him outside before I saw his stance. He tried charm on the doorway guard and failed quickly. We watched from 10 feet away with our receipts ready. Leave, she said, arms crossed and voice plain iron. He spotted the report number and sized up defeat. He stepped back, smirk gone, hands empty of power. A real transfer pinged my balance for the posted fee. He wanted points for finally following rules he broke. Log the payment to the file, I told the clerk. She nodded once and stapled the printout without fuss. He hovered near the curb and pretended patience. We exited together and kept our pace unhurried. He shadowed us to the crosswalk like a bad thought. I raised my camera and he drifted to the corner. Block him everywhere after this, she suggested, jaw tight. I agreed because my boundary had teeth now. We stopped at a kiosk and stood side by side. No small talk, just next steps laid out clean. I drafted a brief notice to mutual friends tonight. Do not message him through me, the last line read. She forwarded it to her group with a single period. My building emailed that a parcel waited downstairs for pickup. My stomach clenched because I hadn't ordered anything lately. Open it downstairs with the doorman on camera, she advised. I nodded and we walked back toward my block. He trailed until a patrol car slowed near him. At the desk I signed and lifted a small box. Return address blank, handwriting familiar, edges taped twice. I set it down and cut the seam carefully. Inside lay my spare key on a receipt photo. He'd mailed it before the stairway scene to look harmless. Beneath the key sat a folded non-disclosure he printed. I laughed once because audacity traveled faster than refunds. We photographed everything and refused to touch the paper. I wrote declined across the envelope and sealed it. The doorman logged it for the report with a timestamp. We headed outside and the night air felt cleaner. Not relief, just space where chaos had lived all week. Tomorrow we change locks and set fresh passwords, she said. I'll schedule it now, I answered, fingers already moving. A quiet resolve took the place he used to occupy. Her rideshare arrived and she squeezed my shoulder once. Last ask, she added, eyes clear and unblinking. If he tries a public scene again, do not engage. I won't, I promised because I believed myself now. Her car pulled away and left me with the next choice. I reached my door and paused with the camera ready. No footsteps, no whisper through the hall, only my breath. I powered down every device and set them to alert. Then I wrote the night's timeline while it still stung. Morning would bring the reckoning we hadn't named yet.